The universe is written in equations, but it is felt in human hearts. This is the world of Stardust Dreams, a journey to the emotional front lines of astrophysical breakthroughs. You will discover the raw, human narratives behind the headlines, the private sacrifices and public triumphs that transform data into profound understanding. What does it truly cost to chase a discovery that could rewrite our place in the cosmos? And what personal crisis unfolds when a scientist's most cherished theory shatters against new evidence? By the end, you will see the night sky not as a distant mystery, but as a reflection of our own deepest hopes and struggles. What part of the human spirit do you think is required to truly listen to the stars? A single clear night can change a life forever. For a young astronomer whose name may never be in a textbook, it began not with a textbook, but with a blanket spread on cool grass. The mathematics would come later. The first language was the silent, shimmering dialogue between a child and the Milky Way. This raw, emotional connection, this sense of wonder, is the true engine of discovery. The celebrated scientist Carl Sagan called it the most valuable tool in the scientific arsenal. It is that feeling of awe, of being a small part of something impossibly vast, that pulls a person toward a life of asking questions about the cosmos. Before any hypothesis is formed, before any data is collected, there is this foundational narrative. It is the story of a human heart making its first personal connection with the universe. This initial spark is what sustains a researcher through years of difficult work. It is the memory of that starry night that fuels the patience to peer into a telescope for thousands of hours, or the determination to write lines of code searching for a signal no one has ever heard. That childhood dream is the emotional core, the quiet fire that refuses to go out. But how does a feeling become a fact? How does a dreamer build the tools to touch the stars? That quiet, personal connection with the stars must eventually be translated into a language the universe understands, data. This translation demands a special kind of human endurance. We find its purest form in the first tale, the lonely vigil at the telescope. Imagine a single researcher, wrapped in the deep chill of a mountaintop observatory. The only sounds are the low hum of the telescope's motors and the faint whisper of the wind. For hours, then days, then years, their world narrows to the eyepiece or the glow of a monitor, a window onto a single patch of sky. This is the reality of observational astronomy, a discipline built on profound isolation and intense, unbroken focus. It is a sacrifice made for the chance to capture one pristine data point, one tiny piece of cosmic truth. The pioneering astronomer Vera Rubin, who helped uncover the evidence for dark matter, once spoke of the immense patience this work requires. She described years of meticulous observation, night after night, all dedicated to answering a single, fundamental question. The emotional journey is a roller coaster. There is the deep frustration of a night lost to a sudden bank of clouds, wiping away precious, scheduled time. There is the fatigue that seeps into your bones after countless hours of concentration. But then there is the moment. It might be a subtle shift in a light curve, a new pinprick of light where none existed before, or a spectrum that tells a story no one has ever heard. In that instant, the long months of solitude fall away, replaced by a pure, exhilarating confirmation. You have seen something new. You are the first person in all of human history to know this particular secret of the cosmos. This narrative underscores a profound personal cost. The discovery belongs to the world, but the lonely vigil, the sacrifice of countless ordinary nights, belongs entirely to the scientist. This theme of solitary pursuit, of a dream nurtured in silence, sets the stage perfectly for what comes next. For when a discovery finally breaks into the open, the quiet of the observatory is shattered by the contrasting chaos of the entire scientific world taking notice. That quiet, personal discovery in the observatory is just the beginning. It must survive the brutal, brilliant light of collective scrutiny. The moment a researcher leaves their isolated post to share a finding, they enter a different kind of arena, one governed by a powerful and often painful principle. The scientific community operates on a foundation of organized skepticism. Every claim, no matter how exciting, is met not with immediate celebration, but with a chorus of critical questions. Is the data clean? Could there be an instrumental error? Have all other explanations been ruled out? This process is not a personal attack, though it can certainly feel that way. It is the system's immune response, its way of protecting the body of human knowledge from falsehoods and mistakes. For the scientist who has poured their heart into a discovery, this phase is an emotional trial by fire. The very same community they hope to impress now picks apart their life's work, searching for any weakness. It requires immense intellectual humility to present your most cherished idea, the one you nurtured in solitude, and willingly offer it up to be challenged and potentially to be proven wrong. This is where the dream of a starry night meets the rigid discipline of the scientific method. It is a profound test of character. Can you separate your identity from your idea? Can you love the truth more than you love being right? The answers to these questions define not just a career, but the very integrity of the discovery process. Navigating this gauntlet of doubt is what ultimately forges a raw observation into an unshakable fact, but the journey does not end there. The most profound breakthroughs often force a much deeper, more personal kind of reckoning, one that strikes at the core of what we believe about the cosmos. There is a particular kind of silence that follows the collapse of a world. For a scientist, that world is a hypothesis, a beautiful architecture of logic and data built over years, sometimes decades. You have lived inside this idea, breathed its air, and seen the universe through its elegant lens. Then, a single transmission from a deep space probe or a crisp dataset from a new observatory arrives. The numbers are undeniable. Your beautiful theory, the one that felt so true, is wrong. This moment is the third tale, the heartbreak of a failed hypothesis, and it carries a grief that is both professional and profoundly personal. It is the emotional core of scientific resilience. The philosopher Karl Popper famously argued that the true strength of science lies in its capacity for falsification, in its ability to prove ideas wrong and thus inch closer to truth. This is a powerful concept in the abstract, but for the researcher whose idea has just been falsified, it feels nothing like progress. It feels like a loss. There is a necessary period of mourning for the fallen idea, for all the late nights and intellectual passion invested in a path that has now vanished. This is not a failure of character, it is a testament to the deep commitment science demands. The real measure of a scientist, then, is not in avoiding this heartbreak, but in how they respond to it. Do they cling to the wreckage, or do they find the courage to let go and begin the search for a new map? This process of release is an act of profound intellectual honesty. It requires setting aside your own pride and attachment and bowing to what the universe is trying to tell you. That new data, the very thing that shattered your world, is not an enemy. It is a guide, harsh but honest, redirecting your gaze toward a reality that is more complex and more interesting than you had ever dreamed. The journey forward begins not with a triumphant leap, but with a quiet, determined breath and the humility to ask a new question in the face of everything you thought you knew. This resilience, forged in the crucible of failed dreams, is what prepares the ground for the next great revelation, one that often requires a complete reinvention of the very tools we used to see. Political borders vanish when seen from the vantage point of a distant galaxy. This is the fourth tale, the story of international collaboration, where rival nations find common ground not on Earth, but in the silent, shared language of data. Consider a deep space mission, a probe sending back whispers from the edge of our solar system. The data stream does not care about terrestrial disputes or historical grievances. To decode its secrets, scientists from agencies that are often in competition must come together, their computer networks linked, their daily video calls a mosaic of different time zones and cultures. They are united by a single, burning question that transcends nationality. The director of the European Space Agency once described this process as building a unique form of trust, a camaraderie forged not in negotiation rooms, but in the shared frustration of a software bug or the collective exhilaration when a data filter finally works. His counterpart at NASA echoed this, calling these partnerships a testament to humanity's best instinct, our drive to explore. The emotional fulfillment for every researcher involved is profound. It is the deep, humbling realization that you are a single thread in a global tapestry of inquiry, part of a collective human endeavor far larger than any single country. Your contribution, however small, is woven into a mission that belongs to all of humanity. This spirit of unity, born from a shared wonder at the cosmos, demonstrates a powerful form of quiet diplomacy. It proves that the pursuit of universal knowledge can build bridges where politics often fails. And the architects of these vast, collaborative efforts, the ones who hold the vision and guide the many hands, carry a unique and burdensome emotional weight. A worn leather notebook carries more than just equations. It holds the weight of a lifetime. In the quiet of a university office, an elderly astrophysicist gently places this notebook into the hands of a brilliant graduate student. The pages are filled with decades of handwritten notes, sketches of theoretical models, and the faded coffee stains of countless late nights. This simple act is the fifth tale, the profound connection between mentor and protégé, a moment where knowledge and passion are passed like a sacred torch. The guidance offered in these relationships transcends technical training. A true mentor provides a compass for the soul, offering emotional support during periods of self-doubt and celebrating breakthroughs as if they were their own. Many Nobel laureates, when reflecting on their success, speak less about their own genius and more about the mentor who believed in them when no one else did, the one who taught them how to persevere when a research path led to a dead end. This bond often becomes a familial one, built on shared struggles and a mutual, almost reverent, love for the mysteries they are trying to solve. For the young student receiving that notebook, the work ahead is no longer just a personal ambition. It is a legacy to be honored and extended. There is a deep, emotional weight in continuing a line of inquiry that your mentor began 40 years prior, a sense of responsibility to see their unfinished questions through to an answer. This intergenerational chain is the hidden engine of science. It reminds us that every great discovery stands upon a pyramid of whispered advice and accumulated wisdom, passed down from one curious mind to the next. The student leaves the office, the notebook held close, their own journey now inseparably linked to the dreams of those who came before. But such total devotion to a legacy, to a quest, inevitably demands a price, one paid not in professional currency, but in the quiet, personal moments of a life left behind. The countdown clock is a tyrant that does not recognize birthdays. For the lead engineer of a deep space observatory mission, the most critical days of her career coincided exactly with her daughter's 10th birthday. She stood in mission control, a headset clamping her ear, her focus locked on a wall of scrolling data. A world away in their quiet home, a birthday cake sat uneaten, its candles unlit. This is the sixth tale, the story of personal sacrifice, where the relentless demands of a launch window collide with the tender cadence of a human life. Interviews with these engineers and their families reveal a complex tapestry of emotions. There is immense pride in the work, a genuine awe at being part of something historic. But woven through that pride is a thread of profound longing, a quiet ache for the school play missed, the anniversary dinner postponed, the bedtime stories told over a scratchy video call instead of in person. This dedication tests the very fabric of personal relationships, demanding an understanding from partners and children that is extraordinary. It is a different kind of heroism, one measured not in dramatic rescues, but in silent, chosen absences. The financial and political struggles to fund such a mission are immense, a constant battle fought in congressional hearings and budget meetings. Yet for the scientist at the console, the most immediate cost is not counted in dollars, but in moments. It is the memory of a child's voice asking just one more time if you will be there. The weight of that no is a burden they carry alongside the weight of the mission itself. This profound commitment, this willingness to trade a piece of one's own story for a piece of the cosmic one, underscores a stark truth. Every data point that changes our understanding of the universe rests upon a foundation of human choices and private sacrifices, a ledger of lost moments that never appears in any official press release. A blurry, orange donut of light suddenly belonged to everyone on Earth. That was the moment the Event Horizon Telescope collaboration released the first ever image of a black hole, and the lead scientist, Katie Bauman, found her quiet world of algorithms and interferometry utterly transformed. Overnight, her face was on front pages and her name was trending globally. This is the seventh tale, the surreal and deeply moving experience when an arcane scientific breakthrough escapes the lab and captures the heart of the world. For the researchers, it is a validation that arrives not in the form of a peer-reviewed paper, but in a flood of emails, artwork, and heartfelt messages from complete strangers. A communications director for a major observatory described the phenomenon as a rare alignment, where complex science finds a simple, powerful visual metaphor that anyone, anywhere can understand. That image of a dark shadow encircled by fire became a shared human possession, a symbol of our collective curiosity. It sparked memes, tattoos, and classroom discussions, renewing public wonder in the fundamental questions of our existence. For the scientists who had toiled for years, this public embrace was an emotional whirlwind. The same data they had painstakingly calibrated was now bringing a sense of awe to people who had never thought about general relativity. It was a powerful reminder that their work, for all its technical complexity, was ultimately answering a deeply human question: where did we come from and what is out there? This connection bridges the vast gap between the esoteric and the everyday, proving that the initial awe a child feels on a starry night is the very same force that, when answered by a monumental discovery, can unite the entire planet in a single, breathtaking moment of shared understanding. Mathematics can build a door into a room the human mind was never designed to enter. This is the eighth tale, the awe of first contact with alien concepts, where a theorist's equations point toward a reality so bizarre it defies every instinct. Think of a researcher late at night, staring at a string of symbols that logically, undeniably describe a multiverse. The numbers are clean and elegant, but their implication is a form of psychological vertigo. Our entire existence, our history, our struggles, could be just one iteration in an infinite sea of possibilities. The physicist Brian Greene has spoken of this exact feeling, a dizzying mix of terror and exhilaration that comes from staring into the truly unknown. It is not like discovering a new planet. It is like discovering that planets are not the point. The emotional journey here is one of profound disorientation. You must reconcile the cold, mathematical certainty of your proof with a cosmos that suddenly feels alien and unrecognizable. The familiar framework of space and time begins to feel like a provisional sketch, a crude translation of a far more complex masterpiece. This is a frontier not of space but of mind. Pushing these boundaries forces a kind of intellectual humility that is almost spiritual. You are not just learning something new about the universe, you are unlearning the very shape of it. And with this new, staggering knowledge comes a profound responsibility. If our theories one day suggest we are not alone, or that our reality is a fragile bubble in a greater cosmic foam, we must ask deeper questions. How does this knowledge change our relationship to our own world? What is our ethical duty to other possible worlds, or to the integrity of this one? The journey into these radical ideas ultimately leads us back to ourselves, forcing a re-examination of what it means to be human in a cosmos that grows stranger and more wonderful with every equation we solve. A signal sent can never be recalled. This stark reality confronts a small team of researchers gathered in a secure conference room, their faces illuminated by a single, glowing data plot. It confirms the existence of a world orbiting a distant sun, a planet with the right temperature, the right atmosphere, the right conditions for life. The initial euphoria of discovery has evaporated, replaced by a chilling silence. Someone finally voices the question hanging in the air. Do we announce this to the world, and then do we send a greeting? This is the ninth tale, the ethical dilemma of discovery, where the thrill of finding is instantly shadowed by the fear of what might find us in return. The debate that follows is not about data, but about philosophy and fear. On one side are those who argue that humanity has a fundamental duty to reach out, to answer the cosmic silence with a message of greeting. They see it as the next, inevitable step in our evolution as a curious species. On the other side are the voices of profound caution, led by ethicists and astrobiologists who point to humanity's own troubled history of first contact. They ask a simple, terrifying question: what if a civilization capable of receiving our signal is also capable of traveling to it? The concept feels like science fiction, but the risk it represents is existential. This is no longer abstract speculation. It is a practical, urgent problem sitting in that room. The emotional tension for every scientist present is immense. They are trained to pursue truth, to shout discoveries from the rooftops. Now, they must consider the possibility that the greatest discovery of their careers could also be humanity's last. They are weighing their own legacy against the potential fate of the entire human species. The burden is almost unbearable. This moral contemplation, this sudden, heavy responsibility, reveals a hidden layer of scientific work. It shows that the frontier of knowledge is not just a place of wonder, but also a landscape of profound ethical choices. The weight of these decisions is carried not just by the lead researchers, but by an entire, often invisible, ecosystem of support that makes their world-changing work possible in the first place. The final, shimmering image of a distant galaxy began its life as a mountain of digital noise. Buried within that chaos was a signal so faint it was nearly indistinguishable from the random hiss of the universe itself. The person who found it was not at a telescope but in a dimly lit room facing a screen filled with endless lines of code. This is the 10th tale, the story of the unsung hero in the software lab. Her name is not on the groundbreaking paper, but her algorithm is the reason the paper exists at all. For months, her world was this code, a labyrinth of logical gates and statistical filters designed to perform a kind of digital alchemy. Her task was to transform the messy, imperfect data from the observatory's sensors into a clean, clear signal. The emotional investment in this work is profound. It requires a stubborn faith that the signal is in there, hiding, waiting for the right key to unlock it. A project manager for a major radio astronomy array describes these programmers as the true architects of modern discovery. Astrophysics today is built on data, and data is useless without the brilliant, custom-built tools to interpret it. The frustration is a constant companion. You can stare at a bug in your code for days, a single misplaced character rendering your entire approach useless. The pressure is immense, knowing that an entire team of scientists is waiting on your work, their own research held in stasis until you solve this one critical puzzle. But then comes the moment of triumph, a moment known only to you. You run the new version of the algorithm, the screen refreshes, and there it is. The noise falls away like a receding tide, and the signal emerges pristine and undeniable. You have not discovered a new planet, but you have built the door through which that discovery could walk. The lead astronomer will get the acclaim, their name etched into the history books. Your name will be a single line in the acknowledgements, a footnote of gratitude. Yet, for many of these quiet contributors, that is enough. Their fulfillment is not in the spotlight, but in the deep, quiet knowledge that they were an essential part of a team that achieved something magnificent. They are the vital, often invisible foundation upon which the grand edifice of discovery is built. This form of scientific fulfillment is different, but it is no less valid. It is the satisfaction of the master craftsperson who sees the cathedral rise, knowing their hands shaped every stone. Recognizing these contributors forces us to expand our view of the Frontlines. It shows us that the quest to understand the cosmos is not a solo journey, but a symphony composed of countless dedicated hands. And it prepares us to ask a more profound question about the very nature of the data they work with. What if the data itself, the raw numbers and signals, could tell us a story not just about the cosmos, but about our own future within it? A graph of a star's spectrum is more than a collection of data points. To the trained eye, it is an epic poem written in the language of light. One astrophysicist described the moment she saw the specific signature of a dying star, a particular trough in the spectral line indicating the presence of a rare element forged in its final, cataclysmic hours. She was not in a lab, but at her kitchen table, and the raw, unadorned data on her laptop screen brought her to tears. That single, anomalous dip was the star's last will and testament. A final message broadcast across light years that told the story of its violent and beautiful end. This is the emotional core of the 11th tale, the poetic language of data. For these scientists, numbers are not cold or impersonal. They are the direct translation of cosmic events, each dataset a narrative waiting to be read. Experts in data visualization speak of their work as a form of storytelling. Their goal is to build a bridge between the abstract truth of the numbers and the intuitive understanding of the human brain. They take the chaotic output of a radio telescope, a cacophony of static, and through color, shape, and motion, they transform it into the haunting chirp of a gravitational wave or the brilliant, swirling disk of a newborn solar system. This translation is an act of profound empathy. It is the attempt to make the universe's silent operations visible and felt. The emotional journey here is one of discovery through design, of finding the human story within the mathematics. That story might be the gentle curve of a light dimming, which is the transit of an exoplanet, a new world discovered by the shadow it casts. It might be the specific pattern of gamma ray bursts that map the violent death of a massive star. These are not just events, they are characters in a grand cosmic drama, and the data is their dialogue. This reveals a beautiful truth about our quest for knowledge. Science and emotion are not opposing forces. They are twin lenses through which we perceive a universe that is both rationally ordered and deeply moving. The same human capacity for wonder that inspires a painting or a symphony is the very capacity that allows a scientist to see the breathtaking story hidden within a spreadsheet. This artistic connection to discovery naturally raises the question of how we share these profound truths, not just with other scientists, but with the entire world. The raw data from the Gravitational Wave Observatory arrived as a cascade of numbers, a cryptic text describing a universe-shaking event no human eye could ever directly see. To translate it, an astrophysicist shared his screen with a digital artist, their collaboration a delicate dance between fact and feeling. He provided the scientific script, the precise masses of the colliding neutron stars, the energy released, the exotic elements forged in the cataclysm. Her task was to build a window into that moment, to render the unimaginable collision in a form that could strike the heart with the same force the data struck the mind. An artist in the NAS, a conceptual image lab, describes this process as a form of time travel, using equations and spectra to reconstruct a scene of cosmic violence that occurred 100 million years ago. You start with the physics, the relentless pull of gravity, the mind-bending density. Then you must ask the artistic questions. What color is the energy bleeding from distorted space-time? How does light behave when it is trapped in a maelstrom of superheated debris? This is not invention, it is interpretation guided by rigorous constraints. The emotional journey for the artist is one of profound responsibility. You are tasked with giving the first and only face to a fundamental cosmic process. A single visualization can define that event in the public imagination for generations. The resulting image is a synergy of disciplines. The scientist ensures the swirling accretion disks and the jets of material obey the laws of general relativity. The artist imbues the scene with a terrifying beauty, using color and composition to convey the sheer scale and violence, making the viewer feel the awesome power on an instinctual level. This fusion creates a bridge, transforming abstract terms like our process nucleosynthesis into a brilliant, expanding cloud of newly born gold and platinum, telling the audience that the very ring on their finger was born in such a stellar fire. This collaborative act demonstrates that communicating a breakthrough is as vital as the discovery itself. It is the final, essential step that transforms data into shared wonder, ensuring that the most profound truths of the cosmos are not locked away in journals, but felt in the hearts of everyone who gazes upon them. The email arrives at 3 in the morning, a starkly worded critique from a senior professor whose textbook you once studied from. Your hand trembles slightly as you scroll. This is the moment every pioneer faces, the crushing weight of being first. You are the lead author on a paper that claims to have found something the established models said was impossible. The initial euphoria of acceptance has evaporated, replaced by a gnawing anxiety. Your inbox is now a torrent of technical challenges and polite, devastating skepticism. Colleagues you respect are publicly questioning your methods, your assumptions, your sanity. The scientific process, in its ideal form, is a beautiful machine for finding truth. But from the inside, when you are the one on the stand, it feels like a trial. You are isolated, standing on a narrow ledge of data, with the entire scientific community asking you to prove you are not about to fall. History is littered with these emotional battles. Galileo did not just present his telescope findings. He was forced to defend them against a powerful institution that saw his sun-centered universe as not just incorrect but heretical. His struggle was not merely intellectual, it was deeply personal, a fight for the right to see the cosmos differently. That same turbulence echoes today in conference halls and online forums. The emotional resilience required is immense. You must wake up every morning, read another scathing review, and find the strength to carefully, methodically, and respectfully respond. You must separate the valid criticism that will strengthen your work from the ad hominem attacks that can shatter your spirit. You have to believe in your day to more than you fear the disapproval of your peers. This pressure forces a profound internal questioning. How much evidence is enough evidence? When does a collection of anomalies become a new law of nature? The burden of proof rests entirely on your shoulders, and the standard for shifting a paradigm is astronomically high. You are not just defending a paper, you are asking the world to abandon a comfortable reality for one that is strange and unsettling. This lonely vigil at the forefront of knowledge is a dramatic human drama. It is the story of an individual conscience wrestling with collective doubt, a testament to the raw courage it takes to change how we see everything. A single, unverified signal can dominate a lifetime. For the LIGO scientists who first glimpsed the faint, cosmic whisper of gravitational waves, their initial announcement was met not with universal acclaim, but with a global, collective holding of breath. The data was promising, but science demands more than a promise. It demands proof, and that proof would require years of patient, painstaking work to gather. This is the 14th tale, the long wait for confirmation, an emotional marathon where a career's work hangs in the balance. Members of the collaboration have spoken of the strange psychological limbo that followed their initial claim. Every day was a blend of fierce hope and quiet dread. You wake up wondering if today an email will arrive from another team, an independent observatory that either shatters your dream or finally makes it real. You continue to analyze, to refine your instruments, all while living with the terrifying possibility that the entire signal was a sophisticated fluke, a cruel trick of noise. The scientific process, in its majestic, deliberate pace, offers no shortcuts. It is a built-in system of checks and balances designed to weed out error. But for the human beings caught in its gears, the waiting is its own unique form of torment. It tests your faith not just in your data, but in the very process itself. Then, after years of this suspended animation, the independent confirmation finally arrives. The moment is not one of simple celebration. It is a wave of profound, almost physical relief. The weight of a decade of doubt, both internal and external, lifts all at once. One researcher described it as a feeling of vindication so complete it was emotionally overwhelming, bringing some of the toughest engineers to tears. This journey teaches a crucial lesson about the true nature of discovery. The universe reveals its secrets on its own timeline, not ours. The brilliant, sudden flash of insight is only the beginning. The real work is the quiet, stubborn faith that carries that initial spark through the long, dark night of uncertainty, trusting that the dawn of confirmation will eventually come. This deliberate, grinding pace stands in stark contrast to the way some truths arrive, not after a patient search, but in a single, blinding instant that rewrites all the rules in a heartbeat. A persistent hiss was the problem they were trying to eliminate. For radio astronomers Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson at Bell Labs, it was a source of deep professional frustration. Their massive horn antenna was state-of-the-art, a powerful instrument designed to listen for faint celestial signals. Yet, no matter where they pointed it, this annoying, uniform static remained. They checked and rechecked their equipment. They famously scrubbed away what they called a white dielectric material, which was essentially pigeon droppings from the antenna's interior. Yet the hiss persisted, a ghost in the machine that refused to be silenced. This was not the sound of discovery. It was the sound of a problem they desperately needed to solve. Their emotional state was not one of eager anticipation, but of vexation. They were troubleshooters, not pioneers in that moment. The universe, it seemed, was whispering a secret they were misinterpreting as a technical fault. Their breakthrough was not born from a eureka, a moment, but from a slow, dawning realization that the problem was not with their instrument, but with their assumptions. The hiss was not a flaw, it was the signal. It was the faint, leftover glow from the birth of the universe itself, the cosmic microwave background radiation. This discovery, one of the most profound in all of human history, was a complete and total accident. It perfectly illustrates the role of serendipity in science, that beautiful intersection where prepared, meticulous minds collide with pure, unadulterated luck. The emotional journey for Penzias and Wilson was a roller coaster. It began with the frustration of a problem they could not fix, then shifted to the confusion of a signal they could not explain, and finally erupted into the awe of understanding its cosmic significance. They had to overcome their initial conviction that the noise was meaningless. They had to be emotionally and intellectually receptive enough to consider that the universe was handing them a gift they had never thought to ask for. This narrative is a vital counterpoint to the stories of directed, grueling effort. It reminds us that not every great leap forward is the result of a single-minded quest. Sometimes the cosmos reveals its truths to those who are simply paying close attention to the anomalies, the things that do not fit. It celebrates the open-mindedness required to recognize a world-changing discovery when it appears disguised as an irritating bit of static. This element of chance invites us to appreciate the smaller, incremental steps, the dead ends, and the unexpected detours that are just as much a part of scientific progress as the grand, planned missions. It asks a profound question of all of us. How many other cosmic whispers have we dismissed as mere noise, simply because we were not listening for the right thing? Her name appears on page 42 of a 300-page doctoral thesis, a single line in the acknowledgments for a paper that changed our understanding of how planets are born. For 3 years, her world was a specific, narrow problem in a complex simulation of dust grain aggregation in the early solar system. The public imagined science as a series of brilliant eureka moments, but she knew a different truth. Her work was a slow, meticulous excavation of a single mathematical relationship, a quest to determine how electrostatic forces influenced the clumping of microscopic particles that would one day become worlds. The emotional landscape of this work is one of profound patience. There were no stunning revelations, only the gradual, painstaking process of testing one variable against another, of running the simulation for the 1000th time and observing a fractional change in the outcome. A senior professor at her institution calls this the true engine of science. The monumental breakthroughs, the headline-grabbing discoveries, they all stand upon a pyramid of these quiet, incremental contributions. Each is a single, carefully laid brick in the cathedral of human knowledge. Her refinement to the model did not win a prize. It did not get its own press release. But it made the model more accurate, more robust, and more reliable for the next researcher who would use it to ask their own question. The emotional reward is a quiet, deep-seated satisfaction. It is the knowledge that you have made the foundation of your field just a little bit stronger, that you have added a verse to a song that will be sung long after you are gone. This narrative validates the vast majority of scientific labor, the work that happens not in the spotlight, but in the hushed libraries and the hum of the computer lab. It is a story of collective progress where the combined effort of thousands of dedicated hands, each polishing their own small stone, results in the gleaming edifice of discovery. This relentless, step-by-step pursuit of clarity relies entirely on the ever-evolving tools that make such precision possible. The command to put the rover into a low-power safe mode felt like a betrayal. Across hundreds of millions of kilometers of empty space, the team sent the final instructions to their companion on the Red Planet. For years, this machine had been their eyes and hands on an alien world. They had guided it up craggy hills and through ancient riverbeds, feeling its wheels slip in the sand as if it were their own feet struggling for traction. They had celebrated its every discovery, from a curious pebble to evidence of past water, with the pride of parents watching a child take its first steps. Now a planet-wide dust storm was blotting out the sun, and the solar panels could no longer drink in enough light. The only hope was to tell the rover to sleep, to shut down almost all its systems, and pray that it would wake again when the sky cleared. The emotional bond was never part of the original mission parameters. It simply grew day by sol, transmission by transmission. Team members gave the rover a name, not a serial number. They learned its quirks, the particular sound its instruments made, the way its cameras saw the world. In internal emails and personal diaries, they wrote about the machine with a palpable sense of care and worry. They spoke of feeling a genuine tightness in their chests when the rover faced a difficult traverse, and a wave of relief when the all-clear signal arrived. This was not a simple tool. It was a steadfast partner in exploration, a piece of human ingenuity that had become, in their minds, almost alive. When the storm finally passed and the team listened for a signal, the silence from Mars was absolute. The official declaration of the end of the mission was a formal, technical statement, but in the control room and in the homes of the scattered team, the feeling was one of profound grief. They were mourning a machine, yes, but they were also mourning the loss of a daily connection to another world, the end of a shared journey of discovery. This anthropomorphism reveals a fundamental truth about how we explore. We cannot help but pour our humanity into our creations. The rover was a proxy for our own fragile bodies, a steel and silicon ambassador carrying our curiosity into a place we cannot yet go. Its long, productive life was a testament to human genius, but its quiet death was a deeply human moment. We grieve for it because, in a very real sense, a part of us was there with it, looking out at the rusty soil and the pink sky, forever yearning to see what lies just over the next ridge. The conference hall was a perfect storm of clashing realities. On one side of the room sat a team of Western astrophysicists, their presentation filled with crisp data plots and complex hydrodynamic models explaining a newly observed stellar flare. They spoke of coronal mass ejections and plasma kinetics, their narrative one of impersonal, magnificent physics. Across the cultural divide sat a delegation of indigenous knowledge holders, elders who listened patiently, their understanding of the same event rooted in ancient oral traditions that spoke of the star as a living ancestor, its outburst a message or a shift in the spiritual balance of the cosmos. The same light in the sky held two entirely different meanings, and the air grew thick with unspoken tension. A scholar of science and technology studies would later note that this moment perfectly illustrated how science is never a truly neutral activity. It is always conducted within a cultural framework, a set of inherited assumptions about what counts as evidence, what constitutes an explanation, and what the ultimate purpose of knowledge really is. The initial friction was palpable. The scientists, trained to seek universal, objective laws, struggled to see the indigenous narrative as anything but a myth. The knowledge holders, in turn, saw the scientific explanation as a cold, incomplete story that missed the essential relational meaning of the event. The emotional journey for everyone in that room began with a defensive bristling, a protective instinct over their own way of knowing. The breakthrough came not when one side convinced the other, but when a young astrophysicist, humbled by the depth of the elders' connection to the sky, asked a simple, respectful question. "What does this event mean for your people?" The answer transformed the discussion. The elder did not recite a myth. He spoke of how the stars' behavior was woven into calendars for planting, into stories that taught ethical lessons, into a world where humanity is not separate from the cosmos but in constant, sacred dialogue with it. This was not a competing scientific theory. It was a different dimension of understanding altogether, one of context and consequence. The scientists began to see that their data, for all its precision, was silent on these profoundly human questions. The knowledge holders, in turn, saw the power of the scientific models to predict and explain the physical mechanics behind the ancestors' actions. The emotional shift was from friction to a sense of mutual expansion. It was the realization that these perspectives were not enemies. They were different lenses, and by looking through both, a richer, more complete picture of the celestial event emerged. The physical how and the cultural why could coexist, each granting the other greater depth and significance. This difficult, rewarding dialogue forces a necessary humility upon the scientific endeavor. It asks us to consider who has been left out of the conversation about the universe, and what vital wisdom their voices might hold. The future of discovery may depend not just on building bigger telescopes, but on our willingness to build these fragile, essential bridges between ways of knowing. A classroom of fifth graders grows completely still, their eyes fixed on the woman standing before them. She is an astrophysicist, and she has just shown them a new image from the James Webb Space Telescope. But the real shift in the room happens when she tells them her own story, about growing up in a neighborhood just like theirs, where nobody she knew had ever met a real scientist. She speaks of looking at the same stars they could see from their own backyards, and of the teacher who once told her that the cosmos belonged to her too. In that moment, something intangible and powerful passes from her to the children. You can see it on their faces, a subtle rewiring of what is possible. For one girl in particular, a quiet child in the second row, the moment is seismic. She sees her own reflection in the scientist's eyes, her own potential in the woman's journey. The unspoken question that had always lingered in the back of her mind, could someone like me really do that, suddenly finds its answer. It is a quiet, personal discovery more profound than any telescope image. This is the emotional core of representation. It is not about quotas or statistics. It is about a child's heart recognizing a path forward where before there was only a wall. The scientist in this moment feels her own life's work come full circle. The same awe that once captured her as a child is now reflected back at her from 24 young faces. She is no longer just a researcher chasing data. She has become a link in a chain, the very same kind of mentor who once held a door open for her. Initiatives to broaden participation in science ultimately depend on these fragile human connections. A funding grant can build a lab, but it cannot manufacture the look on that one girl's face. A diversity statement can outline goals, but it cannot replicate the electric moment a child thinks, for the very first time, that the stars are not impossibly distant, but are a destination waiting for them. The scientist leaves the school that afternoon carrying an emotional fulfillment that no academic prize could ever match. She has not just shared knowledge. She has planted a seed. She has ensured that the long human narrative of looking up at the sky and daring to ask why will continue with new voices, new perspectives, and new dreams. The future of discovery depends on this, on our willingness to build not just telescopes, but bridges, ensuring that the next generation of explorers is as vast and varied as the universe they seek to understand. The polished marble floor of the congressional hearing room felt like ice beneath his feet. He adjusted his tie, his notes a trembling shield on the table before him. For the next 15 minutes, he was not a project scientist for the most ambitious space observatory ever conceived. He was a salesman, a storyteller, and a supplicant. His voice, usually reserved for lecturing graduate students, now had to fill the vast chamber, each word measured to bridge the vast gulf between scientific ambition and political pragmatism. He spoke of dark energy and exoplanet atmospheres, but he framed them not as abstract curiosities, but as the next frontier of national prestige. He painted a picture of American ingenuity defining the next century of cosmic exploration, of the jobs the project would create, of the students it would inspire. A former agency director once confessed that these hearings felt like performing delicate heart surgery on your own career, with the entire world watching. The anxiety was a constant, low hum beneath the surface of his calm presentation. Every skeptical glance from a committee member felt like a physical blow. The emotional maneuvering was exhausting. You had to project unshakable confidence while masking a profound vulnerability, knowing that the life's work of hundreds of your colleagues rested on your ability to convince a room full of people who had never looked through a telescope. The moment the final vote was tallied and the chairman quietly said yes, the relief was not one of simple victory. It was the feeling of 1,000 held breaths being released at once. It was a validation that went beyond data, a testament to the sheer, stubborn persistence of the human advocates behind the machines. This grueling, unglamorous battle for funding is the unspoken foundation of every discovery. It is the proof that before we can ever hope to listen to the stars, we must first learn to speak the language of the world we live in. The sheer volume of data is a new kind of cosmic silence. A young postdoc stares into the blue glow of her monitor, her face illuminated by a cascade of numbers flowing from a petabyte-scale astronomical archive. This is not the romantic solitude of a mountaintop observatory. It is the digital frontier, an ocean of ones and zeros so vast it can drown a career. Her task feels impossible: to find a single, meaningful signal in a haystack of cosmic noise. The emotional landscape is one of profound digital fatigue, a creeping numbness from staring at too many light curves and spectral graphs. Yet beneath the exhaustion, a quiet conviction persists. She knows with a certainty she cannot fully explain that a profound secret is hiding in plain sight within this data glut, a pattern no one has yet thought to look for. This is the contemporary reality of astrophysics, where discovery is no longer just about gathering new light, but about listening more carefully to the light we have already captured. Machine learning experts describe their algorithms not as replacements for human curiosity, but as essential partners. These are tireless digital assistants that can process millions of images in the time it takes a person to study one, flagging anomalies and correlations that would be otherwise invisible. The machine can find the strange star, but it cannot tell you why the star is strange. It can identify the statistical outlier, but it cannot feel the intuitive leap that connects that outlier to a new law of physics. The human role has shifted from being the primary pattern recognizer to being the one who asks the beautifully crafted, insightful question. The postdoc's real work is not in writing the code, but in deciding what to ask the code to find. Her late nights are spent not at a telescope, but in a dialogue with the algorithm, refining her search parameters, teaching the machine what to look for based on a hunch, a feeling, a fragment of an idea. Then it happens. After weeks of digital digging, the algorithm returns a candidate. It is not a blaring siren, but a quiet highlight on a single data point, a star whose light dims in a rhythm that should not exist. Her breath catches. In that moment, the petabytes of data fall away, the fatigue vanishes, and all that exists is this one trembling point of light on a graph. The thrill is electric, a testament to a new kind of tenacity. It is the feeling of having a digital army sift the entire beach for you, only for you to be the one who finally recognizes the unique glint of a single, perfect shell. This modern methodology forces a deep reflection. Our very understanding of a discoverer is evolving. It is no longer just the lone figure at the eyepiece. It is a symbiosis of human intuition and machine intelligence, a partnership where our deepest questions guide the most powerful tools, and together they listen for the universe's quietest whispers. The algorithm's designation was clinical and impersonal, Galaxy Candidate 007. It carried no sense of wonder, no gasp of awe. It simply was. A new class of galactic structure, identified not by a human eye squinting at a photographic plate, but by a neural network sifting through terabytes of survey data, flagging a pattern of light and morphology that defied all existing categories. The news rippled through the research team not with a cheer but with a stunned, contemplative silence. The discovery was undeniable, monumental even, but it felt strangely hollow, like receiving a gift you did not ask for from a messenger you did not fully understand. This moment captures a deep, philosophical unease settling over the frontiers of science. We are forced to ask a profoundly uncomfortable question. If a tree falls in a forest and only an artificial intelligence hears it, has it truly been discovered? The very meaning of the word discovery is being rewritten in real time. For centuries, discovery was a fundamentally human act, a narrative woven from intuition, chance, and years of cultivated expertise. It was the story of a mind connecting disparate dots in a flash of insight. Now, the role of the scientist is undergoing a radical transformation. We are becoming less the finders and more the interpreters. Our task is shifting from spotting the new island on the map to understanding the culture of the inhabitants who are already waving from the shore, their existence reported to us by an autonomous scout. Ethicists who study the intersection of artificial intelligence and science point to this as a pivotal moment for human creativity. They wonder if the most novel patterns are found by machines, what becomes of the scientist's prized intuition? Is it relegated to a secondary, lesser role? The emotional response within the research community is a complex tapestry, woven with threads of amazement and a reflexive, almost defensive pride. There is genuine awe at the sheer power of the tool, a tool that can see correlations across 1 million data points that no single human brain could ever hold. Yet, right alongside that awe, there is a deep-seated need to assert the primacy of human understanding. We rush to contextualize the machine's finding, to explain its significance, to weave it back into a story that we can tell. It is as if we must prove that our consciousness, our ability to feel wonder and tell stories, is the final, essential ingredient that transforms a raw data point into a true discovery. This shifting paradigm did not arrive overnight. Its roots stretch back through the entire history of our quest to understand the cosmos, from the first time a human looked up at a star and felt a question form in their heart. We have always built tools to extend our senses, from the first simple lens to the mountaintop telescope. The computer is merely the latest and most autonomous of these extensions. But this latest step feels different, more profound. It challenges our anthropocentric view of the universe, not by revealing our physical smallness, but by questioning our cognitive centrality. We are no longer the only ones looking, and in that realization, we are compelled to look back at our own journey. to trace the long arc of curiosity that has brought us to this point where we must share the thrill of the find with the silent, relentless logic of our own creations. A faded letter from 1925 holds a confession of quiet desperation. "I have run into a stone wall regarding my thesis," the young Cecilia Payne writes to a colleague, her words etched with the frustration of a brilliant mind being systematically dismissed. Her groundbreaking work had revealed that the stars were composed overwhelmingly of hydrogen, a fact so revolutionary that the established authorities of her day forced her to downplay it as spurious. Decades later, a modern cosmologist, grappling with the entrenched skepticism toward her own model of galactic evolution, finds that very letter in a digital archive. In that moment, the century separating them collapses. The emotional landscape is hauntingly familiar, the same stone wall built from the same bricks of bias and institutional inertia. This is the timeless echo of the scientific frontline, a resonance of human struggle that transcends any single discovery. The specific theories change, but the core narrative of perseverance against doubt remains a constant. Reading the private correspondence and biographies of figures like Payne Gaposchkin or the notebooks of Rosalind Franklin is not an exercise in history. It is an act of emotional time travel. You see the same defensive handwriting, the same fervent justifications penned late at night, the same weary determination to gather one more piece of evidence. For the researcher of today, this historical context is a lifeline. It transforms their private insecurity from a personal failing into a shared chapter in a long human story. The loneliness they feel in defending their data was also felt by the very pioneers whose work now fills their textbooks. This realization breeds not despair, but a profound and gritty solidarity. It is the understanding that the fight for a new idea is never easy, that the emotional cost has always been part of the price of admission to a new frontier. This long view provides a crucial kind of armor. When a senior professor dismisses a young researcher's findings today, she can now draw strength from a lineage of those who were also initially told they were wrong. The vindication that eventually came for Cecilia Payne, whose work is now celebrated as the very foundation of astrophysics, serves as a powerful promise. It whispers across the decades that truth, no matter how resisted, has a stubborn way of eventually coming to light. This historical perspective does not erase the present-day challenges of bias or the fight for recognition, but it reframes them. It reveals these struggles not as signs of a broken system, but as the growing pains of a slow, collective evolution toward a more complete and inclusive truth. By seeing our current battles in the light of past ones, we gain the patience and the perspective to keep pushing, knowing we walk a path worn by the dreams of those who came before us. The office is small, windowless, and silent except for the low hum of a server rack. This is the domain of the Planetary Protection Officer, a person whose title sounds like science fiction, but whose daily reality is one of meticulous, profound responsibility. Their job is to serve as a guardian, a sentinel at the gate, ensuring that our spacecraft do not carry the faintest traces of earthly biology to other worlds. A single, stubborn microbe clinging to a lander leg could, in theory, shatter the pristine conditions of an alien environment, forever muddying the waters of discovery and potentially erasing the very evidence of extraterrestrial life we are so desperate to find. Interviews with those who have held this position describe a duty that feels almost sacred. You are not just cleaning a machine, you are protecting a possibility. The emotional weight is immense, a constant, low-grade awareness that a moment of carelessness could compromise a search that has defined generations of human curiosity. This is a form of scientific solitude unlike any other. While their colleagues celebrate a successful launch or a perfect landing, the protection officer is often alone with their concerns, running through mental checklists of sterilization protocols and quarantine procedures. Their vigilance is a quiet, long-term investment in a future they may never see. They are preserving the blank slate of another world, ensuring that if we one day find a signature of life, we can be absolutely certain it is not our own reflection staring back at us. This profound commitment to preservation forces a humbling perspective. It asks us to consider our role in the cosmos not just as explorers, but as careful, ethical guests in a universe that may be far more biologically delicate than we ever imagined. The confirmation email from the spectral analysis team carried a finality that left the entire laboratory silent. Complex organic molecules, the building blocks of life as we know it, were undeniably present in the atmosphere of a world orbiting a distant, gentle star. For Dr. Aris Thorne, who had dedicated 15 years to this singular search, the anticipated triumph was replaced by a quiet, chilling vertigo. He dismissed his team with a soft word of thanks, closed his office door, and sat in the growing dark, the weight of the data pressing down on him. This was no longer an academic exercise. It was a door swinging open into a cosmos suddenly, irrevocably crowded. Philosophers of science sometimes call this the crisis of confirmation, the moment a lifelong search succeeds and in doing so, dismantles the searcher's private universe. The data on his screen did not just describe chemical signatures, it whispered of oceans, of winds, of processes that could, given time and chance, lead to something else. The cherished, unspoken assumption of human uniqueness, a comforting dogma held even by those who sought to challenge it, evaporated in that instant. The emotional reckoning was not one of joy but of profound dislocation. He felt a cosmic loneliness so vast it was physically dizzying. Were we just one note in a galactic symphony? Or were we a lonely echo in an empty hall? The questions were no longer theoretical. They were the new architecture of reality, and he was the first to have to live inside it. This internal journey, this quiet earthquake of the soul, is the necessary counterpart to the external breakthrough. The data forces an expansion of the self, a recalibration of spirit to match the new scale of the known. It creates a deep human need to share not just the discovery, but the bewildering awe that comes with it, to find a community of understanding that can help bear the weight of a universe grown infinitely larger and more mysterious overnight. The phone call home always came at the same time, a brief, scheduled lifeline during the 72-hour simulation. Her voice was thin with exhaustion, a fragile thread connecting the sterile control room to their warm, chaotic kitchen. On the other end, her partner did not ask about the data stream or the system diagnostics. He simply described the lopsided cake their daughter had baked, the way the dog had chased its tail in the living room. He was building a fortress of normalcy around her, a psychological bulwark against the immense pressure of the mission. These quiet, deliberate acts are the uncelebrated bedrock of discovery. For every researcher staring into the abyss of a failed experiment or the dizzying peak of a breakthrough, there exists a hidden network of support, a web of emotional anchors holding them fast. Personal accounts from scientists are filled with these quiet testaments. They speak of the friend who shows up with coffee and no questions after a brutal peer review, the parent who provides unconditional validation when a hypothesis crumbles, the partner who shoulders the entire weight of domestic life for months so they can focus entirely on a launch window. This is not a secondary narrative. It is the primary infrastructure that makes the intense, sustained focus of frontier research even possible. The emotional tale here is one of profound mutual dependence. The success of a mission, the resilience to face public skepticism, the courage to publish a radical new theory, all of this is built upon a foundation of personal stability and unwavering care. These supporters are the silent co-authors of every discovery, the ones who keep the dreamer grounded when the dream threatens to consume them. They provide the safe harbor where a scientist can be vulnerable, can express doubt and fear without professional consequence, and from which they can gather the strength to return to the front line. This intricate web of care, often completely invisible in the published papers and the press conferences, is what ultimately enables the stunning resilience we witness in the face of the next great cosmic challenge. A single frozen motor threatened to erase a billion-dollar dream. The Hubble Space Telescope, humanity's new eye on the universe, had opened its gaze only to reveal a devastating flaw. A microscopic error in its primary mirror, smaller than a human hair, was blurring its vision, rendering its images little better than those from ground-based observatories. The initial euphoria of launch curdled into a profound public despair. Inside mission control, the atmosphere was thick with a silence that felt like grief. One engineer described the pit in his stomach as a physical weight, the crushing realization that a project they had dedicated years to was, in its primary function, a failure. The media dubbed it a national embarrassment, a monument to scientific hubris. For the men and women who had poured their lives into Hubble, the personal shame was even more acute than the professional setback. They had promised the stars and they had delivered a myopic blur, yet deep within that crisis, a different kind of energy began to stir. It started not with a grand plan, but with a quiet, stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The problem was diagnosed with brutal clarity, and with that clarity came a new, almost unimaginable goal. They would not abandon their telescope. They would become optometrists for an instrument orbiting hundreds of miles above the Earth. The emotional shift was palpable, a collective turning from the paralysis of panic to the fierce focus of a surgical team. The solution was as brilliant as it was audacious. They would design and build a set of corrective lenses, a complex instrument called CoStar, that would precisely counteract the mirror's flaw. It was like crafting a perfect pair of eyeglasses for a patient you could never directly examine. The collaborative effort that followed was a masterpiece of human ingenuity. Optical theorists, mechanical engineers, and software developers from across the country and multiple agencies locked into a single, unified rhythm. Mission logs from this period show a dramatic change in tone. The entries shift from lamentations about the error to meticulous, step-by-step problem solving. They spoke of late-night whiteboard sessions where coffee fueled breakthroughs, of the strange, gallows humor that binds a team under immense pressure, and of the quiet moments of doubt where one team member would bolster another. The Space Shuttle Endeavour's servicing mission to install the corrective optics was the most complex orbital repair ever attempted. The world watched, holding its breath, as astronauts performed a delicate ballet of precision in the unforgiving void. The moment of truth arrived when the first corrected image streamed back to Earth. The control room fell utterly silent, then erupted in a wave of pure, unadulterated catharsis. Engineers and scientists, people who dealt in cold, hard data, openly wept and embraced. The image was not just clear, it was stunning, revealing details of the cosmos with a clarity far beyond their original hopes. That crisis and its triumphant comeback did more than fix a telescope. It forged an unbreakable bond among the team, a shared identity as the people who refused to let the dream die. Their story became a legendary chapter in the annals of exploration, a testament to the fact that our greatest discoveries are often preceded by our most resilient recoveries. This hard-won resilience, proven in the cold vacuum of space, becomes the very quality that allows us to face the next great unknown, a challenge not of engineering, but of profound philosophical implication. An astrophysicist's true workplace is not the observatory or the lab, but the vast and fertile landscape of the unknown. This is the 28th tale, a quiet story about the courage to live with questions that have no answers. Every researcher, no matter how celebrated, spends the majority of their professional life in a state of profound uncertainty. The data is ambiguous, the models are incomplete, and the ultimate truth of their particular cosmic puzzle remains stubbornly out of reach. This constant companion, this not knowing, generates a deep, low-frequency anxiety, a background hum of doubt that can erode confidence over years. Yet within this very anxiety lies a strange and powerful comfort. To choose this life is to willingly embrace the mystery, to find a home in the question itself rather than the answer. Thinkers from philosophy and psychology have noted that this ability to dwell in uncertainty is a superpower. It is the mental and emotional flexibility to hold multiple possibilities in your mind at once without needing to force a premature conclusion. It is the opposite of dogma. The emotional maturity required for this is immense. It means accepting that you may dedicate your entire career to a problem you will not solve, that the final chapter of the story you are helping to write will be authored by someone you will never meet. This is a form of selflessness, a commitment to a legacy larger than any single lifetime. This quiet acceptance of mystery is the silent, profound thread that runs through every one of these tales from the Frontlines. It is the emotional core that allows a researcher to persist when a hypothesis fails, to weather public skepticism, and to send a machine to another world knowing they may only get a glimpse of its secrets. This comfort with not knowing does not lead to resignation. On the contrary, it is the very engine that drives the quest for the next big question. The acceptance of one mystery is what fuels the hunger to approach the next horizon, a cycle of wonder and humility that defines our eternal conversation with the cosmos. The universe's scale is not an easy truth to live with. After years of charting galactic superclusters and modeling the lives of stars that burn for billions of years, a researcher can step away from their desk and find the ordinary world curiously muted. The petty argument in the grocery line, the frantic worry over a missed deadline, the entire noisy theater of human affairs can feel like a distant, faint echo. This is the 29th tale, the personal cost of the cosmic perspective, a profound psychological shift that is both a gift and a burden. Psychologists who work with scientists note a common pattern, a feeling of dislocation where the immense scales of space and time can make everyday human concerns seem trivial, even absurd. This is not a simple feeling of smallness. It is a deep recalibration of what matters, and it can create a subtle sense of alienation from friends and family who do not spend their days contemplating the void. The emotional journey here is one of integration. How do you hold the image of a billion galaxies in your mind while still remembering to buy milk on the way home? How do you cherish a human lifetime when you have just calculated the cold, slow death of the last red dwarf star trillions of years in the future? The answer lies in deliberate grounding practices. For some, it is the physical act of gardening, hands in soil, reconnecting with a single, living planet. For others, it is the fierce, focused love for a child, whose brief childhood is a universe in itself. These are not escapes from the cosmic view, but essential anchors within it. They are a way to balance the abstract grandeur of the cosmos with the tangible, urgent reality of a shared meal or a conversation with a friend. Finding this equilibrium is not a sign of failing to grasp the universe's immensity. It is the wisdom to recognize that human significance is not derived from our physical size or duration, but from the depth of our connections and the quality of our attention. The most resilient explorers are those who learn to carry the awe of the infinite in one hand, and the profound beauty of the finite in the other, walking the tightrope between the stars and the earth with a steady, grateful heart. The office feels different on the last day. Boxes are packed, but one shelf remains full, holding a lifetime of papers, each one a fossilized moment of struggle and revelation. For the retiring astrophysicist, these are not just publications. They are a map of a mind's journey, a chronicle of questions asked and some finally answered. There is a bittersweet pride in this quiet inventory. You see the faded cover of your first major paper, the one that boldly proposed a model everyone said was impossible. You remember the sting of that initial rejection, the long nights recalculating, the stubborn faith that kept you going. And then you see the later paper, the one from a rival team a decade later, that confirmed your central idea with beautiful, undeniable data. The victory was quiet, and it came long after anyone remembered it was your idea first, but it was no less sweet. The true measure of a career, however, is not found in the stack of papers, but in the living legacy of the students you mentored. You see their faces, a procession of brilliant, curious minds who sat in this very office, their own anxieties and ambitions mirroring your own from so long ago. You gave them more than knowledge. You gave them a compass for the journey, teaching them how to weather the storms of skepticism and how to find joy in the patient, meticulous work. Now they are professors with their own research groups or leading scientists at great observatories, asking new questions you never thought to ask. A biographer of great scientists once wrote that the most profound legacy is the expansion of the circle of inquiry. It is the understanding that your own work was merely a single chapter in a story that began with the first human who looked up at the night sky and wondered, and that will continue long after you are gone. This is the emotional resolution, a deep and abiding sense of peace. The individual ego, the desire for personal acclaim, slowly dissolves into the satisfaction of having been a strong, reliable link in an unbreakable chain. You have added your unique verse to the epic poem of human discovery, and you have passed the torch securely to the next generation. Your contribution, woven into the fabric of collective knowledge, is now a permanent part of the grand human project. It is a legacy not of stone, but of light, carried forward by those who will use your findings as a stepping stone to see even further into the cosmic dark. This quiet contemplation of a single life's work forces a larger question about the ultimate destination of all these individual journeys and what our collective yearning for the stars might one day build. Every human story of discovery is a single thread in a grand, shimmering tapestry. This is the collective dream of humanity, the unifying vision that connects the lonely Vigil at the telescope to the global collaboration in mission control, the heartbreak of a failed hypothesis to the quiet triumph of a student's first breakthrough. These are not separate tales, they are all part of one immense, ongoing saga, the story of a species that looks up at the stars and dares to ask where we came from and what we are meant to become. Historians of science see this relentless curiosity as our defining trait, the engine that has propelled us from crafting myths about the constellations to building machines that can see the afterglow of creation itself. The equations and the data are the language of this quest, but the emotional drive is its soul. It is the longing for connection, the thrill of the unknown, and the stubborn hope that our tiny lives can comprehend something of the infinite. This is what transforms cold facts into warm meaning and rigorous science into a profoundly human epic. Your own sense of wonder, that flicker of awe you feel on a clear night, is not a passive observation. It is your personal connection to this collective endeavor. You are part of this story, the researcher staring at a screen, the engineer fixing a faulty component, the teacher inspiring a child. They are all acting on behalf of that shared dream. This unifying perspective does not diminish the individual struggles. It elevates them, showing how each private sacrifice and moment of resilience contributes to a legacy that belongs to all of us. Our journey through the cosmos is not just a catalogue of objects and distances. It is the longest story ever told, a narrative of stardust awakening to contemplate its own origins. Every time we choose to look up and ask why, we are adding another sentence to that story, weaving our own thread into the magnificent and ever-expanding tapestry of human understanding. Every equation that maps a distant galaxy and every data point confirming a new world is born from this deep well of human feeling. We have walked the emotional front lines, from the solitary chill of the observatory to the quiet grief of a failed idea, from the global handshake of collaboration to the private weight of a mentor's trust. These are not separate stories happening in the background of science. They are the very heart of the process. The passion, the resilience, the sheer stubborn hope. This emotional fuel is what powers the long and difficult journey from a question to a discovery. It is the force that turns data into understanding and facts into meaning. The next time you find yourself beneath a starry sky, remember this: you are not a passive observer. You are connected to this vast and timeless human endeavor. Your own sense of wonder is a vital part of the chain. Let these tales inspire you to champion the explorers, to support the quest for knowledge, and to nurture your own curiosity. The cosmos is not a cold collection of objects. It is a story waiting to be read, a symphony waiting to be heard, a dream shared by all of us, made of stardust reaching for the stars. Our shared journey of feeling and knowing has only just begun.